Israelis see themselves as like warm people. What it basically means is that they tend to be excessively loving or excessively violent.
Sometimes it's a fine line, Shaked. Very fine line.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Germany Experience, the podcast about life in Germany as seen through the eyes of outsiders. I'm your host, Sean, and welcome to a brand new episode. Visit me online and get in touch with me at thegermanyexperience.de. And I'm so excited to be back and to have new episodes for you. Now, as you know, I had a fairly standard surgical procedure about a month ago. I have to keep saying it was a fairly standard surgical procedure because when you tell someone that you had surgery, they immediately think, it would like triple bypass heart surgery or something crazy like that. But it was very standard. I'm recovering very well. I'm almost fully recovered. A little bit of discomfort here and there, but mostly recovered. And part of my recovery was spent on vacation near the Chiemsee in southeast Bavaria. We've been wanting to go on vacation for a long time, and we had planned this for August. Knowing about coronavirus and everything, we decided to keep it inside Germany. And we'd had this plan for ages, and suddenly when I had to go for surgery and we knew that we had a recovery period, we were pretty bummed because we thought, okay, this is gonna ruin our vacation plans. But as it turns out, we had to delay it and shorten it a little, but we still got away, and it was fantastic. And I find that in these times of working from home and after a few months of lockdown, it's so good to get out the house. It is so good to get, it makes you appreciate being away on vacation so much more. So it was good to get away, and the Chiemsee where we were is absolutely beautiful down there. There's some Alps. There's an area called the Chiemgau Alps, I guess you could say. There's a few mountains. There's a lot of lakes. The weather was beautiful. It was really, really fantastic, and I posted some pictures on my Instagram, the .germany.experience. It's always difficult to say that with the dots in between. I wish I hadn't chosen that with all the dots. Anyway, I'm digressing a lot. I'm just so excited to be back and talking to you. It's fantastic. Now, I want to know from you, did you go on vacation this summer? And if you did, I want to know where. You can contact me at thegermanyexperience.de/contact, or you can mail me at info@thegermanyexperience.de, or leave me a voice message. I've updated the voicemail capabilities of my website, and when you go onto thegermanyexperience.de, you'll see on the bottom right corner of the screen, a little microphone will pop up. And if you click on that, you can leave me a voice message. And yeah, as I said, the question for you this week is, have you been on vacation? How was it? Did it feel weird with all the coronavirus things? Let me know. Something I wanted to mention a while ago, before I landed up in hospital and had to unexpectedly postpone episodes, was that I was featured in a new English newsletter, the englishpost.de. It's an English newsletter for foreigners in the Nuremberg area specifically. But there's a lot of interesting topics that I think that would be of interest to expats in Germany, wherever you are, or foreigners in Germany, wherever you are. They featured this interview with me, and in it I discuss my move to Germany, and I talk about why I started this podcast, and I give a lot of information that you might not have heard about me before. So go and read that. It's on the English Post, englishpost.de. The article is called Life Out Loud. I've also included a link to it in the show notes. On to this week's guest. Now, one thing that I'm always fascinated about is, I'm fascinated in any foreigners that come to Germany. That's why I started this podcast. But so an aspect of it that really interests me is people who come here for artistic purposes, to make a career in one of the arts, whether it's painting or music. And in the case of this week's guest, it's dance. Shaked is from Israel, and she moved to Germany, specifically to Karlsruhe, to study a degree in management of arts. I can't remember exactly what the degree is. It's in the interview. You'll hear about it. And as she says in our discussion, she's still finding her place. Her current situation is, I guess you could say, a crossroads, where she's trying to decide how to let certain things go, and also what the next step for her is. What was interesting to me about Shaked's story is that even without living in a foreign country, we're all just trying to figure out who we are and what we want, and we're trying to figure out our career. Am I happy in this job? Is this something that I want to do? But when you add in a whole new culture and language, and you're doing all of those other things while also trying to adapt to a new culture, it really complicates things. So Shaked talks about that, and she also talks about being married to a German and having him be her portal to the German culture. And She explains that Israeli people are possibly even more direct than Germans. Here's Shaket from Israel. I have, for the first time ever actually in the history of this podcast, someone from Israel on the show. Welcome to the show, Shaket.
Woohoo! Yeah,
Woohoo.
Thanks for having me.
I am probably saying your name wrong, so maybe just tell me how to say it properly.
So it's pronounced Shaked, but actually, yeah, I got used to it after 4 years in Germany. It became Shaked, and I don't even correct it anymore. And sometimes I even say it myself. But it's
now
Shaked.
that's what I call integration. It's like when you give up your own name.
Yeah,
that is integration.
Exactly. It's like by mistake, but yeah, that happens sometimes.
Yeah. How do English speaking people say your name? Do they get it correct or?
Oh, no, never.
No.
I mean, obviously, people would read it like shaked or
Yes.
shaked is very common, and for Germans it's shaked. But yeah,
that's funny enough. The way that I was pronouncing it is the way that the Germans pronounce it. Which is
yeah. I know, but in
it.
Israel, I think it's quite common that the accent in names is on the second syllable. So like shaked and not shaked. So that's the common thing in Hebrew.
Yeah. So you're the first person from Israel, and we're going to be talking. You're also a dancer, but we're going to get to all of that. But maybe what we can do is start off just telling me a bit of your background, like where you're from, where you grew up.
So I'm from Israel. I grew up in Haifa, which is in the north of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And around 20 years old, I moved to Tel Aviv, where I lived for about a little bit more than 10 years, I guess. And then I came to Germany.
Yeah. So we'll get into your reasons for coming to Germany in a second. But one of the big parts of your life, I guess, is this dance, your dancing career. So maybe what's your background in dancing, and how did that come about?
I think I started dancing like a lot of little girls do, as when I was around maybe 5 or 6. I think I started when I was picked up by sort of like a talent hunter of sorts in my kindergarten, actually.
Really? So you were like talent scouted.
Sort of.
That's very exciting. That's very cool.
I could do the split or something. I'm not sure, but this lady came to the kindergarten and she gave us like a little class, and I was super enthusiastic. And afterwards, I guess she contacted my parents and she said, "You should bring that girl to a dance class."
Yeah, she's got talent.
And then, I started from there. It was more like gymnastics and ballet. And with time, I went into like a little bit of Israeli folk dance. And when I was 12, I went to High School of Arts. So for 6 years, I was dancing in the middle school and High School of Arts in a dance department. So I was really like going profi, like you say in Germany.
Yeah, going profi. Yeah, you have been here a long time, haven't you?
Oh my God. I already feel like German words come to my mouth as I speak.
I know the feeling.
I'm going to try to hold them back though. So yeah, and then it was a 6-year school. And then afterwards I had another 2 years of like professional dance program. And then I started working as a professional dancer and choreographer.
Okay. Yeah. The reason I asked about when you were 5 is we're taking our 4-year-old to ballet lessons every week.
Yeah.
But it's literally, we have to drag her there. She hates it.
Look, I have only like my memories from dance classes when I was that age were like, I remember that my grandmother used to take me there after school and or kindergarten school, and I remember I always like prayed that she would get like flat tire and she couldn't take me. I really hated ballet. I love to perform in the end of the year, and that's the thing I was really looking forward to.
Right.
But the practice I hated, and I always wished it would be canceled and I could just stay home or do something else.
So that's quite interesting. That gives me a bit of hope in some ways that maybe there's a ballet career or a dancing career in the future for my daughter.
I wouldn't recommend it. That's a hard life. Are you sure you want to?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. So tell me, when you say that's a hard life, because you went to a school of arts, you were dancing all the time, so that must have been pretty intense. Were you doing this because you had a love for dance, or was it just kind of something that you ended up doing?
That's like the $1 million question, which I'm asking myself today as a grown-up person. But
Okay.
I would say that I really enjoyed dancing, at least as a child for sure, and at some point it became also something I was really ambitious about. Like around 13, I started to really like be certain that this is my dream, this is my goal in life. I know where I'm going with this, and I know I'm good enough to do it, and it became my life, and I never ever doubted this. So
So you said, how long were you in Tel Aviv for?
About 10 years.
10 years. And there you were already pursuing your dancing career.
Right. So I was working as a freelancer, as a dancer and a choreographer and as a dance teacher. So I was kind of like based in Tel Aviv doing projects, and I was working quite internationally at the time. So doing projects in different places around the world, and it was kind of, it was exciting and difficult.
Difficult because of the amount of work that you had going on?
Yes, it's, I mean, it's a very unstable life.
Right.
Being a freelancer generally is unstable, but in the arts might be even more like you never really know what's the next job's going to be, if there's going to be one, and you never earn really like a lot of money with dance.
Yeah.
And of course, if you are like an artist and you create, so that's also a lot of pressure to make your own stuff, and where to bring the resources and where to bring the inspiration, and so altogether it's quite stressful, but obviously also really fulfilling, and that's why I think that's what keeps the artists going somehow.
Yeah. It's always the case with all the different kinds of artistic endeavors. Exactly like you say, it's the hours of frustration and practice and putting time in and not knowing if it's going anywhere, and then suddenly you have a moment where everything just works. You're on stage and you give a perfect performance or something like that, and then it just makes it all worthwhile somehow.
Right. So it is like this. I guess something that might maybe be different in dance in comparison to other forms of art or performance even, is that it's really about the body. So you also have a feeling that you're actually at the peak of your career when you're 20, and from there, I mean, you can stretch it to your 30s. You can really stretch it if you want to your 40s, but most people don't really continue to perform in these ages. So you always have a feeling like, it's now or never.
I have to do it now.
You have to do it
God,
now, and you
that's
have
just
to
an
kind
extra
of
stress.
think about your future also. Like you have to do this now. You have to invest your 100% at this moment, but you also have to think about what's going to happen in the next 6, 7, 8 years. Like it's not going to be like this forever.
Right. So let's get to your Germany experience now. What was the deciding factor that brought you from Tel Aviv, where you were obviously fairly established, you had some kind of career going on, and to move then to Germany?
So, as I said, I was from the middle of my 20s. I was concerned about what will be the next step for me in my career. And after doing this big project in India that I kind of initiated and managed, and it was really beautiful and exciting. Suddenly, I realized that being a manager or a producer of dance is something that I really enjoy, and I think I'm also good at. And I said, well, that's a really interesting direction for my future. Like, that would be something that I think I could do. And I started to look for a bachelor degree, which at that point, like all my studies, all my work, I hadn't had any degree or formal certificate education.
Right.
In Israel, you don't really also need it, or maybe as a dancer, you don't need it because you have your resume,
Okay.
which is like more impressive than if you had a degree, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to look for a degree in arts management, and I just Googled it, and I found random different programs everywhere around the world, and I just looked for the one that from the content of the degree itself and how it's presented, I felt like I connect to the most. And eventually I found this program in Karlsruhe, which is a city I have never heard of before. I didn't know
Weltstadt
where it is.
Karlsruhe.
Yeah. But the program looked amazing, and it was in English because I didn't speak any German.
Yeah.
And I just said, okay, so I'll do it. It's Germany. It's awesome. I'm gonna go for 3
Wow.
years, do my bachelor, and come back and see what's next.
Okay. But that's kind of exciting to think that you could go anywhere in the world. You were just looking for places, and you were just that's an exciting place to be in your life.
Yeah, for sure. I also was kind of I guess you could say that I spent all my adult quote unquote life as kind of like a I don't know how to say, a bit floating in the world,
Okay.
not really attached to anything, and always looking for opportunities to
Okay.
go
That doesn't
somewhere and
sound
do
like an
something.
artist at all.
Exactly. So from this perspective, it wasn't even like a big deal for me to
Yeah.
say I'm gonna leave and go to Germany. I felt like it would be a really like exciting experience
Yeah.
for me, and then it might open doors for my future career.
Okay. So you made the move to Karlsruhe. I mean, I can think in terms of dance. There are a lot of places that you can land up, but Karlsruhe is not really a hotspot of dance. But you were just coming to study, so maybe tell me about your first few months in Germany. What it was like for you there, studying dance, studying your bachelor's. I think you said, right?
Yeah. So my bachelor was arts and cultural management.
Okay, arts and cultural management.
Yeah, and the university is like a management university. So actually, this program that I have done is not existing anymore.
Oh,
So yeah,
not because of you though.
hopefully not. They were traumatized by me and shut it
We're
down.
like, let's stop this. We're never doing anything like this again. Please
We are attracting
stop.
the wrong people. Might be. But yeah, it was a very like unique program, I guess, inside this management business oriented university. And I came there as I was probably the oldest student in the university. I was 28, studying with a lot of 18-year-old students, which
Yeah.
was already quite a challenging
Yeah, I mean, 28 is
experience.
not that old, but yeah, that's a difficult
Oh,
age gap there in university, I
yeah,
should imagine. Yeah.
exactly. 18 to 28 is a really different place in life,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
different approach also to the thing I was studying, like because I came after like sort of already like second step of my career, and most people just came out of school.
Yeah. They have no idea
Yeah.
at that age. They don't even know themselves at that age.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to tell them that.
No, you can't. Of course. Of course.
No. So you just
But
have
they'll
to
figure
shut
it out
up
by the
and
time they're at
pretend.
that age.
Exactly. So yeah, so I found myself in Karlsruhe, which I was like not at all feeling it like not feeling the vibe.
Really? So you got here, how long did it take you to realize that? You got here and then you realized, nah, I'm not feeling this here.
Quite quickly, actually.
Oh, no.
But I mean, at the real beginning, it didn't really matter because I said, like, you know what, it could be even like, I don't want to say too drastic things, but it could be a really horrible city, but I'm just gonna be here for 3 years, and that's it. So whatever.
I need to check if I've got any listeners in Karlsruhe, actually.
Yeah, I mean, they probably know it. I'm sorry, no, that's bad.
Yeah, but okay, so you realized let's put it this way, it wasn't suitable for you. It just, for some reason, it just wasn't fitting with your personality.
Yeah. It wasn't. I mean, it's also difficult because I came from Tel Aviv, and Tel Aviv, for me personally, I know I'm not objective, but I've never loved any city like I did Tel Aviv. Like, Tel Aviv is for me the most amazing place to live in, at least when you're young. So it's like, it's a 24-hour city where full of stuff's happening in culture and amazing food and the beach, and it's warm and young people. And so it's hard to compare, obviously, to in Germany. It could maybe be compared to like the bigger cities. I mean, to Berlin probably, and maybe to Hamburg, but it cannot be compared to other normal cities in Germany.
Because Karlsruhe is not exactly an international center of Germany or anything like that. It's just a German city. Just a German city,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And this was a misunderstanding for me that later I actually understood that, coming to Germany, I had this image of Berlin where I already visited maybe 3 or 4 times before, and I knew Berlin. And I had the image of Berlin in my head. And of course, okay, I knew that Karlsruhe is not Berlin, but still there was some kind of illusion there of what Germany is. And it turned out to be not exactly what I imagined. So that was a little bit of a culture shock. And obviously there's a lot of challenges in moving, but I guess it was a little bit more smooth for me because I came for studies. So, I knew where I'm going. I had a structure where I would go every day, and I had some kind of schedule. So it held me together. So maybe that made it a little bit easier in the beginning to come. Yeah.
How long have you been in Germany now?
So now 4.5 years.
4.5 years. So you're obviously finished with your studies now, but you're still here. So I'm guessing there's a reason for that. Since it seems you're not that impressed with Karlsruhe itself.
Right. So during the studies, I mean, it was also ups and downs. Like I said in the beginning, it was quite easy, and after half a year, I had a crisis where I wanted to quit and leave. That I was like going through extreme loneliness in Karlsruhe. Like, I didn't have any friends at all from my studies, and I was feeling super lonely and depressed and not connected to the studies anymore, and I wanted to quit. And then I met who today is my husband, Andy, who is from a small village in the area near Karlsruhe, and I met him through Tinder.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Tinder, it does work for romance.
I did that, and I met him. We started like dating, and everything turned out brighter. The world just seemed like a bit better, and suddenly, I had some kind of connection to the place also through him. When he started to kind of introduce me slowly to the culture and to the place. So we were together through the rest of my degree, my studies, and then after the studies, it was already clear that we want to stay together, and I'm going to try to stay here and try to see if that works for me to develop myself here with him.
So how is that going for you?
That is very, very, very challenging, and so far not really going, I may say. I don't really know if the problem, where exactly the problem lies, but the truth is that I am teaching dance here for a year and a half, and that's like actually my job right now.
Okay.
But for me, I see it as that's something that I always used to do, and I can always get a job at teaching, but it's not my goal. It's not where I see myself going in the future. And the work that the career that I'm trying to build in management, it's just not working. I'm not successful so far with going through job interviews.
Mm-hmm. But I should imagine in a city like Karlsruhe, a lot of, because it's not that international, I should imagine a lot of those jobs are requiring a very good level of German or a native level fluency in German. Is that what you're finding?
So yeah, that was okay. That was my thought. Being in Tel Aviv, I was working in an extremely international environment. So all the places I taught in English. All the places I danced in English. My managers, they were talking to me and my fellow dancers and choreographers, whatever, always in English because it's an international field.
Yeah.
So that was my perception of arts and dance and management. And that's something that I was expecting also in Germany to be like, okay, so, I'm learning German, but I can work in English.
Yeah, sure.
And I found out so far, at least in Karlsruhe, I find that it's not acceptable here to not have a very, very, very high level of German. Like, I think they are looking for completely fluent German speakers. All the things that I've found so far, they kind of like pretty clearly stated this in their expectations, that they are looking for a fluent German speaker in writing and talking. So I'm working on it every day.
How's your German right now?
I think it's good. I mean, I'm totally insecure, and that's my problem with learning a language. I think that I don't dare so much, not that kind of person who will go and like, it took me about a year until I started like in a bakery to ask for something in German. Until today, I'm a little bit like worried about, will I be misunderstood, or will they ask me something, like a trick question that I wouldn't know how to answer.
So it gives you a lot of anxiety, would you say?
Yeah, for sure, yes. I mean, the language is my biggest obstacle, I think, or I mean, a challenge. Even though I feel like I'm managing it pretty well, but it was really not easy. I mean, it was really hard work to get to this point.
Yeah, I should imagine that the opportunities in a place like Karlsruhe are far less than they are in Berlin or Munich or a place like Tel Aviv. What is the difference between that Tel Aviv culture that you're used to when it comes to the dancing and what you have in Karlsruhe?
So, I mean, there are those dance hubs or main cities around the world that they're like a point of attraction for dancers from everywhere. And Tel Aviv is a big point which attracts people always, all the time. And Tel Aviv is not an easy place to live in. It's extremely expensive, and you earn little and you pay a lot. And the dancers and the dance people there, they're all pretty poor, but still they all stay, because it's a really exciting place, at least in this scene for sure. It's also kind of like it's reaching out of the boundaries of this small community of people who are interested. It's mixing into the clubs and into the media and into everywhere. So it's a popular activity. And if in Tel Aviv, when I go to visit, when there is no corona, I just every like random day I could find a dance show to go and watch.
Right.
In Karlsruhe, before I came, I did my research, like I wanted to kind of smoothly land into Karlsruhe. So I was looking for like what's going on, like where can I fit in? And I found so little online, like nearly nothing. I wrote emails to all the people who were involved with contemporary dance in Karlsruhe. Maybe one of them answered back, but there was really nothing. Like this contemporary dance scene is now starting to like slowly gather itself within this 10 people who live in the city to create something together, but there was really nothing. I tried to reach out to anyone who would be remotely interested, and until today, like there is not a lot. There is a yearly festival which I love, like it's 1 month a year when I really can enjoy contemporary dance. Some of it comes from Israel, like my friends, then I visit them and I meet them, but and other than this, not much.
So you've decided to stay in Karlsruhe, obviously, because that is where you landed in Germany, and also your husband has ties to family in Karlsruhe. But I guess that's if you for your kind of ambitions that you might have, you might be better suited for a place like Berlin and Hamburg. Is that a discussion that you guys have had where you would move away, or is that not even an option where you just say, no, we're happy here for the most part, it's just this one aspect?
So yeah, that's also a complicated question. Obviously, me staying here would have some advantages. Obviously, my husband can keep his job, and we could stay close to his family, which is important for both of us.
Yeah.
And that's a sacrifice that I have to make. I mean, I don't have to, that I choose to make.
Right.
Even when it's, I always saw myself as kind of like a flexible person, also physically, but I mean more like mentally, in the sense that I feel like I can find my place anywhere. I just need some time. And actually this time was the most difficult time ever for me to find myself, and I'm still like on the way. But I know that I can find my place here, but it will take a long time, and I'm just kind of like in this point in my life, in my age, and how everything kind of clicks together. My priorities are to have this stability right now, to allow my husband to keep his job, to be there with him, to be with the family, and to try to build myself around it somehow.
Yeah, because if you're both looking for jobs, and that creates a certain level of chaos as well. At least you have some kind of anchor that you can work from and try find something.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now you say that you're trying to find your place and you're on your way, but you're not there yet. What are you looking for, do you think?
It's also a journey for me to understand what I'm looking for. Oh, well, and I don't think I will have the answer ever. I'm seeing everything as very visual, but if you imagine, there is like a spectrum. From the one side, it's dance, and from the one side, it's management, and there is like a line, endless points on the way that could be that I could ideally move between. So so I love to dance. I can teach dance. I can manage rehearsals, but I can also go completely to the other side. Like, I would see myself managing a dance company, or directing a theater. That's like the future, maybe hopes. And along this line, there's just millions of different possibilities that I'm not even aware of yet. But that's where I'm cruising along, I guess.
Yeah, but I think it sounds like you've got a clear goal in mind at this point, and there are various paths to that goal.
Yeah, and it will probably also change, all my goals change. the way it
but
is.
like you said, that's part of figuring it out. You're figuring out what you want. And these things are not always that easy because they're also fluid and change over time.
Yeah, and I will have different feelings in a few years. I will be a different person. I will feel differently about Germany, maybe, or, everything changes all the time. So it's really hard to say what will be my goal in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see.
Let's see. You said you were flexible earlier, and then you said physically as well. Do you still get a lot of time to dance? Do you practice? What does that look like? I know you're giving instruction to, I assume, younger people, but do you get to dance yourself?
Not younger, actually.
Not younger.
They're mostly older than me. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
What kind of dance are you teaching in Karlsruhe?
So I was teaching for many years improvisation technique called Gaga.
Okay.
It was invented before Lady Gaga. So just on the record. And it's it's developed in Israel by Ohad Naarin, and it's very, it's a very popular technique for professional dancers everywhere around the world. And I also teach it to people. It's improvisation, so it could be actually for anyone at any age with any experience. And today I teach Gimo, which is like a branch inspired by Gaga and have some mindfulness meditation elements in it. And that's what I teach now. And actually the group that I teach is mostly like older than 30. Sorry, what was your question? Did I answer your question?
I can't even remember what my question was.
So never mind.
Wait, what was it? Oh, it was, I think, you know what I was asking is, do you get a chance to dance yourself?
Oh, yeah. I created one piece, actually, like one full piece in this time that I've been here. And I also, of course, I do my own classes, and I do yoga, but I don't really dance much. It's kind of snobby from my side, but I don't really like to go to classes that are like not very professional.
Sure, I can imagine that.
I'm sorry, because I don't enjoy it actually. So I have to feel challenged, and I actually rather do my own yoga class at home and not go to a class where I'm with a lot of like 12-year-old girls or people who are just not professional.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I can imagine you're used to a certain level, and then it must be pretty tough to go to somewhere that's not at that level.
Yeah, I know it's not. It would not be maybe seen in a positive way from a lot of people in my industry, but that's just the way I am. I get bored and I get angry if I'm not challenged. So yeah, I just don't do it.
So with all these other questions, a question that I asked in the beginning that you said you're still trying to figure it out is, did you get into dance because you love it, or is it just something that kind of happened? And you said that's something you're still trying to figure out. Is that factoring into all of this, that you're trying to figure out, is dance what you want to do?
It is, because I'm directing my life in this management path, and I go to interviews. But it already happened one time that I got to an interview, a really great, amazing job, and the person who was interviewing me was a manager of a big theater, and he was looking at my resume, and he was saying like, I just don't get. I look at your resume. You are a performer. You are an artist. Are you willing to give it all up now and just work here in the office?
Mm-hmm.
And it might seem to people like an obvious question, but for me, it really took me completely by surprise. This question, I completely stuttered. I didn't know what to say. It caught me off guard, and I was thinking later, like, there is something inside of me that's kind of finding it hard to put it aside. It's part of my life since always, and so this point in time, I'm trying to realize if it's so hard to let go of because I love it so much, or because I'm used to it, or what is it exactly that holds me back, and how can I slowly start to let it go and find the next step.
Yeah. So I guess that's part of the journey.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to the German culture as such, the people. So first of all, tell me about your friendships in Karlsruhe now. Have you met a lot of, well, it's maybe a stupid question. You've obviously met your husband's friends and stuff. So that's obviously helped to integrate a little, right?
Yes. But yeah, my husband, he's like a really focused portal that I have to the German culture, and I get to know him, and every little weird thing that he does, I always ask myself, is this him or is it German people? Like, are you all like this, or is it just you personally? And at some point I started asking him about everything, like the way you eat. Is it you, or is it
you?
all Germans?
Like, am I annoyed with you right now, or the German culture?
Exactly. So he's the representative of German culture to me.
The German ambassador.
Exactly. But he comes from a small village, a very, very small village. So he's like a village boy of South Germany. Imagine that. You know what it means.
Yeah, I do.
We have such different cultures and understanding on taste in everything. We just have completely different tastes in food, in film, in art, in everything's just like completely off. In humor, we don't have the same humor. Sounds completely like, how can we ever have a relationship? But
that's probably why it works.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I sometimes struggle to say what is the German thing and what is just Andy. But yeah, that's the way I learned, through him.
Right. And I think one of the things when we had a preparation discussion a few weeks ago, and one of the things that you mentioned to me was, I think I asked about the directness of the Germans, and you said that actually Israelis are pretty direct and possibly even more direct than the Germans, is what you told me.
Yeah. So I did say that. And I was thinking about it a lot, because I was thinking like I would have liked to give an example for it.
Yeah.
And I have like minor ones, but I struggle a little bit to like really explain to myself what directness means.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we Israelis are a very direct people.
Well, you'll be at home here.
Yeah, I dare say, just as direct as the German, not as polite. I don't know if you see Germans as polite, but we see them as polite.
Really?
No, you don't.
My God. What is...
They are much more polite than us, and we are also, I would say, aggressive culture. Israelis see themselves as like warm people. What it basically means is that they tend to be excessively loving or excessively violent.
Sometimes it's a fine line, Shaked. Very fine line.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess for me, I mean, when I hear your podcasts and I hear all the people complaining about, how the Kasse lady is not being nice and not chatting, I was like, who the fuck chats with the Kasse lady?
Why, in God's name, would you want to talk to the cashier
Why would
lady?
you do that? In Israel, she would like just punch you in the face if you start talking to her.
I almost have to make it in my life's mission to go to Israel and experience this culture. How has your husband been with your directness? Has he noticed that you are a lot more, I don't want to say aggressive, because that's maybe the wrong word, but it might be perceived as that.
So I think that my husband, when he met me, he came with some kind of free notion of what Israelis or Jewish people are. Something that he put together from his culture and from the way he was raised. You know, he had an image in his mind. He never met any Israeli or any Jewish person. I don't know I don't see myself as Jewish, but he sees me that way.
Right.
And obviously there is history there, and so that's kind of obvious that people pay attention to it. So he had an idea of what it would be to meet me. And then he was completely surprised, and he told me, like, after a few days, I remember he was sitting down with me and we were listening to music, and he was like, I can't believe how similar we are. And I was like, what? We are complete opposites. What are you talking about? We have nothing in common. So, his expectations were that I would be completely different. And he felt like we're kind of similar in culture and in everything. So, yeah, for me, it wasn't like this. But, yeah, this is a matter of perspective.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So then I think we're going to wrap it up pretty soon. So what I usually do is ask people right at the end if they have any advice for other people that are coming to Germany. And what would you say to someone who's in a similar situation that's maybe coming here for some kind of arts career? What would be the biggest piece of advice that you've learned that you would give them?
Okay. First of all, I have to say, like, just be aware that Germany is for me as Israeli, it's a huge place, right?
Yeah.
It's a big place, and it has variety of cultures and identities and different relations with arts and also with international people. So understand that, do not expect any place to be like Hamburg or Berlin or Köln or whatever. That's the first thing. And second thing, I would advise just to try to work on networking as soon as possible and with everyone, even if they're totally unrelated to your profession, or to just start to get to know people, because I started late, and I think this would have been something that could help me more to get to more places, to get more jobs, and to assimilate a little bit more in the culture and in the place where I live.
I think that's very good advice, actually. It doesn't matter if they're, I like what you said about that, it not mattering if they're in the same line of work, even just network, get people's details, and somewhere you might get an opportunity or something that wouldn't have existed otherwise.
Yeah. And if not, then maybe you just got a friend, or, it can be bad. And just to open yourself to the people, even when you feel completely that you don't belong and that you're different, that never mind. Just go for it. Try to meet people. Yeah.
Cool. So where can people find you online?
They could find me on Facebook. Yep.
Facebook.
I'm not a very active social media person, but I do have a Facebook. Yeah.
Shakit, I wish you all the best going forward. I hope that you figure things out. I always think I need to get all of the guests that I have this year, I need to get in touch with them next year and find out what's happening in their lives, if they've figured things out and how much further they are. So maybe I'll get in contact with you. But thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you, Sean. It was great. It was a pleasure.
So much fun. Thanks for listening. And incidentally, next week's guest is also a dancer in Germany, and she's from the USA. So subscribe to the podcast and look out for that. As I said, contact me at thegermanyexperience.de/contact if you have anything to say. I'm very excited to be back. Very excited to be back. Thanks for listening. Auf Wiederhören.